The screening room. I never should have taken that job. But when you're a contractor in a small town, word gets around fast. Work is rare, bills aren't. And when someone offers you a full month's pay just for restoring a single house, you don't ask too many questions. You take it. Even if that house is the old Hawthorne place. The mansion stood on a rise at the edge of town, framed by black pines and autumn fog. A Victorian structure, sprawling and jagged, its turrets and gables reaching like crooked fingers toward the sky. People whispered about it, half stories, half warnings. They said the family line had withered inside those walls, one by one. That no tenant stayed longer than a season. That the house wasn't just haunted, it was hungry. I laughed it off at first. Stories like that float around every old building. But there was something about the way the locals looked at me when I signed the papers. A kind of pity. Like they already knew. The work itself seemed simple enough. Sand floors. Reinforced staircases. Replace rotting beams. But when the realtor handed me the keys, she said only one thing that stuck. Don't open the second floor room. The one with the locked door. Just don't. I thought she was joking. Every Victorian has a room like that, a sealed parlor, an abandoned nursery, a space heavy with dust and superstition. But she didn't laugh. She just pressed the keys into my palm and walked away. The first week passed without incident. The house groaned and settled in the night, but all old houses do. The wallpaper peeled in damp corners, mice skittered in the walls, pipes moaned when I bled them. Ordinary work. But at night, when I sat on the creaking cot in the servants' quarters, I would hear muffled sounds. From upstairs. They were faint, but distinct. Like fabric tearing. Like fingernails dragging over wood. Sometimes a breath. Sometimes a moan. Once, I swear, a scream, strangled and sharp, cut off halfway like someone's mouth had been smothered by a hand. I told myself it was the wind. The plumbing. My imagination. But then, the scratching began. Always from the same spot. Always from behind the locked door on the second floor. The screening room. The lock was rusted but solid. The doorknob cold, even when the rest of the house was warm. At night, I would find myself standing in front of it without realizing I'd climbed the stairs. As though something had pulled me up from my cot. My hand hovering over the key I swore I wouldn't use. On the 8th night, I caved. The scratching had gone on for hours, a steady drag across wood. My nerves were raw, my chest tight with unease. I told myself it was an animal. A raccoon trapped behind the plaster. Nothing more. But when I slid the key into the lock, the noise stopped. Silence pressed against the door. I hesitated. My heart beat so loudly I could hear it in my ears. I turned the knob. The room was empty. Dust motes drifted in a thin shaft of moonlight filtering through lace curtains. The air was thick, stale, unmoving. The floorboards groaned as I stepped inside. And in the center of the room, there was only one thing, a high-backed wooden chair. It faced the far wall, where an old mirror hung. Tall. Oval. Its silver backing tarnished with time, its surface fogged with streaks. That was all. Just a chair and a mirror. I let out a laugh, nervous, shaking. All this fear, all these warnings, over an empty room? Over a piece of furniture and a forgotten mirror? I turned to leave. And that's when I heard it. The chair creaked. Not much. Just the subtle sound of weight shifting, like someone leaning forward. The mirror caught the faintest flicker of movement. I froze. My reflection stood in the glass, but it didn't move when I did. Its head tilted a second too late. Its eyes lingered where mine had already shifted. The breath caught in my throat as I stepped closer. The surface of the mirror rippled. Only once. Subtle. Like water disturbed by a fingertip. I backed out of the room, slammed the door, locked it, and stumbled down the stairs. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I worked outside, fixing shutters, repainting trim, anything to stay away from that room. But as dusk fell, I found myself drawn back upstairs. My hands shook as I unlocked the door again, telling myself I just needed to see it in daylight, prove it was nothing. The chair was empty. The mirror, dull and harmless. But when I leaned close, inspecting the warped glass, I saw something scratched into the lower edge of the frame. Letters. Dozens of them. Names. Some were carved deep, some faint, layered over each other. All different hands, different years. And one at the very bottom, fresh and jagged. My name. The breath left my lungs in a rush. I stumbled back. My reflection grinned. But I wasn't smiling. I slammed the door again, but the damage was done. That night, the screams started. Not muffled anymore. Not distant. But raw, loud, echoing through the halls. Male. Female. Child. Dozens of voices howling in agony, all from that one room. I stuffed cotton in my ears. I buried my head under pillows. It didn't matter. The sound crawled inside my skull, vibrating in my teeth, clawing at my bones. When dawn finally came, I unlocked the door again. The chair wasn't empty anymore. A man sat in it, slumped, his face pale, his eyes wide and unblinking. His lips moved, but no sound came. Only when I glanced at the mirror did I understand, because in the glass, he was screaming. A silent, endless howl, jaw unhinged, face twisted in torment. I staggered back, bile rising in my throat. When I blinked, the chair was empty again. The rest of the day passed in a haze. I don't remember eating. Don't remember working. All I could think of was the mirror. The chair. The way my reflection's eyes lingered too long, the grin stretching wider each time. By the third night, I didn't fight it anymore. I sat in the chair. The wood was cold under me. The mirror loomed tall, swallowing the room. I told myself I'd sit just for a minute, prove nothing would happen. But the reflection, it leaned forward. Closer. Its lips moved. And though no sound came, I knew what it said. Stay. And then, I felt it. Cold. A hand against mine. Not on this side. On the other. I tried to pull away. I couldn't move. the reflection's smile stretched ear to ear. Its mouth opened wide, impossibly wide, until the scream poured out, not from its mouth, but from mine. A howl ripped from my lungs, though I hadn't drawn breath. The glass vibrated, the room shook, and the names carved into the frame seemed to pulse with light. The last thing I remember was my reflection dragging me forward, the surface rippling, swallowing me whole. I woke to silence. I was standing in the room. The chair was empty. The mirror reflected me again, only this time, when I raised my hand, the reflection didn't move. It sat. It smiled. It screamed. And I understood. The room doesn't hold a ghost. It creates them. Every person who sees themselves in that mirror becomes part of its endless loop. Their souls trapped, their screams echoing forever, feeding the house. And now, I scream too. If you ever take a job at the Hawthorne Mansion, if you ever walk its second-floor hall, don't open the locked door. Don't step inside. Don't look into the mirror.